Welcome, everybody. My name is Haley Glover, and I'm Senior Director at UpSkill America at the Aspen Institute. And I'm overjoyed to be joined by two leaders from Ivy Tech Community College in Indiana. Recently, RAND released a study of Ivy Tech's Achieve Your Degree program, which supports employers to enable students to go to college and earn certificates, certification degrees, friction-free on the financial side. They analyzed many years of data, and we finally have findings from this study which prove, in a way that we've all been waiting for many years, that employer support does have a positive impact on student completion. So I'm here to dig in today into those results with the leaders of the program from Ivy Tech, Molly and Jennifer. We are really interested in this because UpSkill America focuses on employer-supported education in all of its forms. And one of the reasons why we do this is because we know employers benefit when they invest in their talent. And now we know, too, that the institutions that partner with employers also benefit, along with learners themselves. So we're thrilled to have this opportunity to dive deep with leaders from Ivy Tech and really understand the process and origin story of this great study. So I'm going to call in Molly and Jennifer, and maybe you can share a little bit about who you are, your roles at Ivy Tech. That'd be great.
Haley, thanks for joining us today. And we're just as excited as you are about the findings from this 3-year study. My name is Molly Dodge, and I have the honor of serving as Senior Vice President of Workforce and Careers here at Ivy Tech. It's a statewide role that's really focused on and in line with UpSkill America in terms of our engagement with employers and how that engagement informs the curriculum and what we teach, as well as provides opportunities for students to prepare in our classrooms for jobs of the future here in Indiana. And I'll turn it over to Jennifer.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Gasiorek. I am the Vice Chancellor of Workforce and Economic Impact for the Muncie campus. We serve Jay, Henry, and Delaware counties in the state of Indiana. But in this role, on a statewide role, I am the Achieve Your Degree statewide lead, and I have been doing this role for about 3 years now. I think I'm on year 4, and I'm excited that this report came out, and I'm excited to share some of the findings that kind of supports the roles at the campus levels and how we really work to try to make sure that our employer engagement is where it needs to be so that our students and our local communities are successful.
Thank you so much, both of you, for being here, spending a Friday afternoon with us and diving deep in this report. So, Jennifer, maybe we can start with you. Tell us a little bit, for those who don't know, what is Achieve Your Degree? What does it do? How does it work? And then maybe give us a little insight into the origin story of the program. Why is it important for Ivy Tech?
Achieve Your Degree is a formal partnership between Ivy Tech and nearly 300 Indiana employers. It enables our employers to earn, or those employees to earn certificates, associate degrees at a minimal or zero cost. So it uses a tuition deferral model. So if you look at how a student takes classes without paying the upfront costs, and then the employers, we look at FAFSA, they can apply for FAFSA, and then the employers then cover the remaining balances. As you think about how working adults sometimes don't have that money up front, this allows them to go to college, get their upskilling, and work with the employers in order to become more marketable within their own organizations. I'm going to let Molly talk about the origins. She's been here a little bit through this whole upstart of Achieve Your Degree.
Well, the origins of this program really stem from our Evansville campus. Ivy Tech has 19 campuses across the state. We serve over 200,000 students a year. And our Evansville campus actually created a partnership with an employer in their service area. And that employer really came to the campus to say, we offer this tuition benefit to our employees, but no one takes us up on it. And we're not quite sure whether we should continue to offer it. But we think a partnership with Ivy Tech would allow there to be some pathways from the roles that we're having trouble filling to Ivy Tech. And that's really where it started, Haley.
Yeah.
Once word got out in the employer community, that employer was very connected in the Indiana Chamber and other statewide organizations. So once word got out that Ivy Tech would create this relationship and really interview and understand the needs of the employers, and design these pathways to enable their employees to upskill into hard to fill roles, then the flywheel started. And as Jen said, we have now nearly 300 employers across the state, many of them with statewide agreements. So employers who have multiple locations across the state, Ivy Tech bills them just from just bills them once. That's right. And they can upskill employees all across the state. So really it's a workforce development strategy that is really integrated into the operations of our community college, and that's what's allowed us to scale.
That's fantastic. And I really appreciate, Jennifer, that you brought up sort of the big problem that this program solves, which is the idea that, despite if a company has a tuition reimbursement program, it can be really hard to come up with thousands of dollars to pay upfront. Now, Ivy Tech's a really affordable institution. And for students who are eligible for financial aid, it can be very low cost, right? But for students who don't, who are working full time, coming up with that money off the top can be really difficult. So your program really solves a key barrier to student participation. And I'm so glad that you grounded it in the employer's experience. They have this program. Why is nobody using it? Well, it's because the program, doesn't quite meet the learner where they are. So, as you think about the variety of programs you were looking to solve beyond financial, what did this program attempt to do?
So as we were looking at different ways that we work with employers, they can really develop their own talent. They can co-create programs that will allow their employees upward mobility. A lot of students that have done the Achieve Your Degree program, and we have testimonials, they received promotions from within. So it's not marketing somebody so that they can leave an organization. It's actually marketing somebody so that they can stay within that organization and grow it. So along with the financial barriers, it just allows for upward mobility for employees. It also allows for employers to have retention. So the employees will retain to complete their degree, and then that loyalty is there because they're rewarded for that upward mobility and that opportunity. So it's really interesting when your boots are on the ground and you get to hear from students and employers. It really is a win-win for the student and for the college especially, but definitely for those employees that stick around and make a difference within their organizations.
Fantastic. You're sort of speaking on both sides, right? For any program to benefit, everybody's got to get something great out of it. So your employers are getting better retention, smoother, frictionless pathways into upskilling that they need. Ivy Tech's getting enrollments, which is great for you. And you're also probably understanding where friction points inside of your own institution can create barriers for other employers, which you can then solve and have better experiences down the road. That is really great. So tell me just a little bit more about how Achieve Your Degree builds on and improves your efforts to partner with employers. Like, what do employers experience when they're working with Achieve Your Degree team?
Want me to take that?
Sure.
When our employers are working with us, they expect a concierge service. So does that mean a concierge service for the employer or for the student? And we say it's for both. So we go out a lot of times on site and register their students so their employees don't have to take time off work and they don't have to come to a campus. And a lot of times we give them that white glove treatment. And then those students, we wrap support around them. We check and make sure their grades are on par. We make sure that they're attending classes. We make sure that we provide them with that wraparound support so that they're the most successful they can be. And if you look at some of our success rates, even in our grades, we see that the Achieve Your Degree students, most likely are getting those, most of the time, those higher grades because they don't want to let their employer down.
Yeah.
And they also don't, we've got that web of supports and they don't want to let us down. So it's a really interesting environment of how Ivy Tech cares about this working population, knowing that they are probably having families and they are probably working and they are definitely putting in the overtime to take on courses in order to improve their upward mobility within the companies.
Wonderful. Molly, from your perspective in overseeing all of workforce development, which is a gigantic job because everything's workforce development at a college, right? Tell us a little bit about how working learners are making their journey through Ivy Tech with Achieve Your Degree. Right? How do they engage with the program, if at all? And does it change the way that they take, their path?
That's a great question, and yes, I agree with you. All of what we do here at Ivy Tech is workforce development, whether it's providing a skill-based class, whether it's providing a degree pathway, whether it's preparing a student for transfer. All of that is aligned to a student's career goals. And so really what we do in the Achieve Your Degree program is help the employer identify what roles they're having trouble filling. We identify students who have that interest, and then we just map the difference. And through the Achieve Your Degree program, we can customize academic programs, but we also offer short-term certificate programs or technical certificate programs to allow students to actually get the amount of education and skills that they need to take that next step. We combine Achieve Your Degree then with career coaching, so students who complete are coached by Ivy Tech to ensure that their manager understands that they've completed an education or training program, what skills that they have, and why they're ready for that next role or that larger responsibility. So honestly, the Achieve Your Degree program, it's really just a box or a framework for us to create transformation within workplaces and for students. And that's why the program has scaled across the state.
I love that, Molly. Thank you. I was thinking, what's a metaphor? A box, a framework. I'm also thinking it's gas in a tank, right? It's fuel to get you farther. It's fuel to get you faster, because what you're doing is, giving a high quality experience to a learner who really wants one, which is priority number one, but doing so in a way that, locks some of those minds and gets you maybe a little farther faster. Well, and then to the point of this conversation around this report. So since I encountered this report back in the summer when I served as a reviewer for it, I've been so excited for this study to come out. And that is because it measures something that those of us who've worked in employer-supported education for a long time have been waiting for, which is it understands the relationship between financial support from employers and student completion. We've never had that before. We know all about what happens on the employer side. We've got amazing examples of promotions that come out of education assistance programs and transfers and all kinds of benefits. But what happens inside the institution? Who knows? So this is really the first time that we've had this kind of thing, and I'm probably way too excited about it. So tell us about how the study came about and why you were interested in doing that.
We sort of gave analysis across, and we're members of the American Association of Community Colleges, and we found that our Achieve Your Degree program was pretty unique. Again, we didn't set out to actually create a program. It really bubbled up from the ground from employers who were interested in sort of formalizing a relationship with Ivy Tech and Ivy Tech's workforce development efforts here at the college. And so when we had the opportunity, the program started in 2015. So when we had the opportunity to partner with RAND to actually evaluate its effectiveness, we jumped at that opportunity, and we've been so pleased with the service that we were provided, and this study, which lasted 3 years, included numerous points of contact with our campus-based Achieve Your Degree coordinators and support staff. It included touch points with employers, and it included over millions of data records associated with this program. And so once we saw the results that there were strong positive associations between participation in Achieve Your Degree and credential completion, we felt affirmed that this program, though it really does require, creative problem solving, it requires concierge service, as Jen said, it requires the coordination of numerous services offered by Ivy Tech to an employer. We were affirmed by these study results in that at the end of the day, our AYD students are more successful in completions. And it's not that those results should surprise us as we think about how we're implementing this program and tying this program back to a student's economic mobility within their own organization. I mean, we should realize that students are highly motivated to be successful. Employers are providing additional support to students enrolled in this program because they want them to be successful so that they can be promoted into new positions or new roles or accept new responsibility. But it's great to see it in black and white, Haley.
Absolutely. Well, and it's great to sort of be on the other side of it, to say, you put in a ton of work. The researchers put in a ton of work because, as you say, they combed through literally millions and millions of records, because what they were able to do was actual, individual level analysis. They were able to go in and understand impact on student progression and completion. And while you mentioned the idea of economic mobility, importantly, they didn't do a wage analysis resulting from it. So what we don't know yet, although we've got other evidence that's lining up behind this, right, is that the students who are going and completing are, we don't know that they're more likely to earn more or get different jobs. But this is one part of this puzzle that we've waited for so long. So maybe you could tell us, how did attending Ivy Tech through AYD impact students' completion rates?
So when you look at our enrollment, we know that the program's grown nearly 3,000 students and 300 employer partners within the last, since 2025 started. But when you look at completions, we've served up more than 7,000 credentials awarded. And you look at that from an overall perspective, some of these folks are receiving multiple credentials. They're receiving TCs, technical certificates, along with certificates, and then the associate's degrees. When you look at what happens when people stack their credentials, it goes to show you those technical certificates, those short-term certificates, builds confidence for those employees. So not only are they building confidence, they are stacking those credentials and even making them more valuable within the organizations in which they serve. So it's really exciting to see the completions come through, but what I think is exciting is to see the stackable credentials, to see them take those steps along the way in order to receive their associate's degree. And then we're leveraging those dollars so that if they go on to get their 4-year, go on to get something else, those dollars are available for them to do so at their employers. So we work really hard at making sure we find funding sources to leverage those dollars so they can get as far as they'd like to go.
I love that. I'm really glad you brought that up, because where you saw, I think, the biggest impact was among those shorter term, right, certifications and credentials, where folks maybe didn't spend 2 years, 4 years with you, but went for 12 weeks, 16 weeks, right? And those programs, particularly when they're motivated by an employer, can have a huge degree of value. But let's just walk through some specific findings. So, like I said, it sounded like you had the strongest relationships for short-term certificates. And this idea, right, where RAND was able to measure the impact, what we know is that each additional term of being a part of the program through AYD increased the probability of your certificate completion by up to 53%. Molly, maybe you can put that into some degree of perspective for us, right? Colleges traffic in completion rates all the time. What does that mean to you as a leader of the system?
So we're very excited about this study because obviously our evaluators found strong positive associations, between participation and credential completion, as you have described, Haley. But even after accounting for demographics, academics, and time. So those positive correlations extend to students who, all working adult learners enrolled in the program. So even students who would be classified as low income, have benefited from this program. And as you said, Haley, I mean, our certificate production, and the probability of increasing that by 53% is huge. Also, we found evidence of double-digit likelihood of completion in technical certificates and associate degrees. So not only are our students coming for those short-term certificates likely aligned to a skill gap, that they have identified with their manager on the work site that might qualify them for increased responsibility, but students were actually leveraging this tuition benefit for those longer term programs. So we have a company, for example, who makes our entire course catalog available to students. So students can choose a program that's not associated with the role that they have if they have a passion. And that employer is really leveraging the AYD program as a retention tool, not so much an upskilling tool. And for employers who maybe know that they are finding it difficult to retain employees, they're just using that tuition or leveraging that tuition benefit in their partnership with Ivy Tech to say, if we can get someone to stay with us for 2 more years, that's a win for us. And so as we think about the problems that we're trying to solve in workforce development, there's always a myriad of problems, of challenges that employers have. And so this is a tool that's pretty versatile, for employers who want to build their own talent pipelines within their own organization, maybe just want to retain employees for a certain amount of time, and then are happy to have them be placed in a career that's more aligned to their passions and interests, or employers who are looking for new talent. We have employers who make this tuition benefit readily available to brand new hires, because they know it's a challenging hiring environment, and so this is a benefit that they can start from day one. So this program, is really meant to be applied as the employer sees fit. But as the study shows, the students are winning. The students are winning because they're completing their education, and we know that working adults, 2 out of 5 will not complete their education, and so if we can positively affect that number of working adults who are successful in their educational journeys, we are strengthening the workforce. We're giving employees and working adults skills that they need to be successful in the workforce, and the college is just sort of the broker of that relationship.
No, but the college is winning too. And this is a point that, maybe I'm being pedantic, but that I feel I must make, right? Because as we look around, the number of solutions that colleges have to deploy that result in double-digit impacts on completion are pretty hard to come by.
Thanks.
Right? So I want to applaud you, Rand Ascendium, who funded this study, for taking the leap to do it, not only for the programming, but for the commitment to analyze it. Because this, I think, opens one more opportunity for colleges to not only better serve the employers and their communities, right, but for institutions to recognize the value on their big numbers, their big goals of doing this kind of hard work. Because it is hard work partnering with 300 different employers who probably need 300 different varietals of a program. But just kudos. And I also want to note just a little sub-bullet that was highlighted in the report. As time goes on, right, your point, Jennifer, about short-term certificate begets certification, begets longer form, begets associate degree and beyond, right? What I'd suspect is the impacts of this program will just continue to snowball over time. And so when we come back 10 years from now in 2035 to understand, what happened, I'd wager that you're going to be in a whole different universe. So I'm sorry for the monologue. I just felt like I needed to do that. So as we sort of close up, you talked a little bit about, how this is impacting your employer partners, how they're sort of viewing it as a strategic tool in their tool belt. But as an institutional leader, both you, Jennifer, and Molly, what gets you fired up about this? What's the thing that you're going to do next with this?
Well, I'm on the ground, so I get to meet with students and I get to meet with employers in my local market. And what fires me up is when I see a student that didn't have the confidence to go to college and say, you know what, my employer is paying for this. They're betting on me. I'm going to bet on myself. So they're putting that investment in themselves. And when I see a student walk across that stage, because I get the luxury of standing sometimes up there and saying their names, I give hugs, high fives. I've walked around the podium because I know that student has worked so hard to receive that degree when they didn't even realize why they were coming to my table at their tabling event at their employer. So that fires me up every day when I see that student. And then on the employer side, what fires me up about working with employers is when they start to see that retention and their turnover rate starts to minimize. I live in a community that the wage rate is one of the smallest. I've worked with our employers of the importance of providing wages and fair wages, and because it's what everyone else is doing, why are we paying this? We're really educating employers on the importance and value of education and that it's worth something. So that fires me up every time.
Thank you, Jennifer. And Molly.
What fires me up about this study is while I'm very, very grateful that we have integrated this Achieve Your Degree program throughout sort of the bones of the college, right? It's a team effort. It takes boots on the ground like Jen and our career link teams all over the state. It takes our financial aid and business office colleagues to come alongside. It takes our academic affairs colleagues to help us identify those pathways or customized pathways for employers. And what this study says is we should continue to invest in this work. We have a viable playbook. To your point, Haley, which I very much appreciated your monologue, but as we know in workforce development, on both sides of the equation, and this was represented in the report, staffing is pretty lean. It's lean in our divisions. It's lean on the employer side. But what this report, why it fires me up is to say, we should double down on this, both at the community colleges across the nation. If you don't have an Achieve Your Degree program, here's a playbook for you to consider, but also at those employer sites, if there are opportunities for employers to really designate a point person to work with community colleges to design these talent pipelines, they pay off.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying for years. And so the thing that excites me is not just the validation of these long-held, sort of beliefs and understandings, but the idea that we now have some evidence, like you said, Molly, we have a guidebook for this work. And a couple of things I'll note is that what you achieved with Achieve Your Degree is not actually, like you said, it's not the result of 150 staffers swarming, right? It is not a huge operation. What you've done is solve some really key problems, which are the financial barriers experienced by the learner, the friction experienced by the employer in making those financial transactions, and the opportunity to create and get on a path into the next thing. Imagine what you could accomplish with even more expansion of those products and services, and with deeper understanding on the part of the employer about the benefits that they'll accrue. So I want to encourage everyone, read the report. It is fantastic, and it is so needed evidence and information for this time in our economy and in the upskilling, world. But I want to thank you, Molly and Jennifer, for spending a little time with us to share your thoughts and your the outcomes of the study, and for being such champions for working learners here in Indiana, and I know national exemplars. So thank you both.
Thank you, Haley. Thanks for having us, and thanks for using this opportunity to help amplify these results. This is a great playbook for community colleges and for employers, and so we appreciate our partnership.
Both. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.